May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. So how many of you remember picking a dandelion in late summer with its beautiful fluff of seeds, puffing up your cheeks and blowing, and watching with delight as the seeds danced away in the wind? I remember it from like last summer. But of course, many of our parents may not have been too happy with us, or our neighbors in my case, with us blowing the seeds and having them land on the fertile soil of lawns. Others landed in the woods or briar bushes or between sidewalk cracks. You've seen that. Each a winged possibility, carrying not just the DNA of a dandelion, but our imagination as well. And equally fascinating, those 3 to 4 or 5 that would hold on, right, to that little nub of a dandelion, and then you toss it on the ground, so those seeds were right where that dandelion grew. In our gospel today, one with which we are, many of us, quite familiar, we can think about the soil. What soil am I? How do I tend to the soil of the world? Is the soil at our church good soil, or is it prickly with the cares of the world, or worn down with the demands of uninvestigated tradition? Are we going deep enough? Very good questions. But today I'd like to suggest that we leave the soil to God. Know that some soil will be thorny, some will be worn, some will be rocky, and some will be perfect for seeds. So instead, let's talk about seeds and this sower. Because this isn't your ordinary sower. This sower is a prodigal sower. And one of the layers of this amazing parable is that Jesus is holding this sower up as an example to us, to those who carry his message of faith, hope, and love into the world. Now, for many years, I personally thought that the word prodigal meant one who went away and came back after being lost. But what it actually means is wastefully extravagant. Wastefully extravagant. The son who spent all of his inheritance in ways that were indulgent and harmful to him, yet taught him so much, right? And brought him humbled and prepared for servitude back to his father. And here in today's gospel, we have a sower who is sowing seed in a way that would have shocked any farmer that day. And it still would. Who takes precious seed and willy-nilly throws it out without a care for where it lands? A sower, a farmer, intent on a good yield, prepares the soil, pulls up the briars, keeps the paths to the minimum, putting boards or hay down to mark the places where you can walk. And as the many stone walls in New England attest, the farmers clear as many rocks and stones from the soil as they can. Carol gave me this little bag of New Hampshire stone wall seeds. So that's a whole different kind of seed, but it's little stones. But not the sower in Jesus' parable. This farmer, this sower, doesn't really care about preparing the soil. Nor does the dandelion, or the maple, or the oak, or the milkweed, or not any plant living in its natural state. These sowers throw out their seed, letting it land where it will, knowing that some will take, generous, abundant in their sowing, knowing the seed will grow where it will need to. Here comes Jesus again, turning things on their head. There's a few verses that have been left out of the gospel in the lectionary today from what we read for time's sake, I imagine. They precede the second half of our gospel in which Jesus explains the parable of the sower. What those verses tell you is that Jesus, who told the parable to a whole group of people, is giving the explanation just to his disciples, to the ones who will go out and spread the word of the kingdom. It is not an admonition to sow only on the good soil. It is not. It is a frank assessment of what will happen, what is going to happen as you go out into the world spreading the good news. Even seeds that fall on good soil will fall with varied success. And in fact, what we judge to be good soil may actually be a hard and rocky path. Think of those that Jesus gathered around him, the poor, the rejected, the betrayers, the doubters. If we in our humanity and our bevy of biases and propensity to prejudge were to decide where our seeds were to take root best, these folks are likely not the soil we would have chosen. But here's Jesus. Jesus calling his disciples to be prodigal, to be extravagant to the point of seeming wasteful, to be generous with the seeds of the good news, like the dandelion, with joyful abandon. Let God's love be known in the world, he tells us, and let God take care of where it will root. The fruits or flowers of our choice to follow Jesus are faith, hope, and love. The seeds are patience, attentiveness, courage, creativity, caring, insight, kindness, joy, open-mindedness, and so much more. All the seeds that come from that fruit. These we are asked to throw out into the world with abandon. When Jesus sent his disciples out into the world, he told them to go to their own people, but other than that, he didn't limit them. He simply said, realistically, if the home is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If it is not, let your peace return to you. If anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that town or home and shake the dust off your feet. He didn't say, well, never go back to that place. He didn't say, forget about it, don't keep sowing, or if that place looks like that, then maybe you shouldn't do that, or you should prepare the way, right? No, he just tells them this is the way it's going to be, and just keep on going. Sometimes it will take, sometimes it won't. Don't get discouraged. Keep on sowing the good news. Keep spreading those seeds on the wind. Keep blowing those dandelion seeds out to blow where they will. Jesus never held back his love when he was among people, did not discriminate seeking good soil for his love, and he was so often prodigal, wastefully extravagant, not with material goods which concerned him only in the ways that they held people hostage to worldly things, but with the seeds of God's abundant love. He welcomed children even when he was super busy and the disciples tried to shoo them away. And he made way more fishes and loaves than were needed that day. Taking 5 loaves and 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They ate all. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up. Anybody remember how many baskets? These are big baskets. 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. 12 basketfuls extra. That's a little extravagant. And he upsets Judas by allowing Mary to anoint him with very expensive oil, saying, "Why are you bothering this woman? She has done a beautiful thing to me." The list of these moments of extravagant love go on, so much so that, as we saw in the gospel reading last week, religious leaders call Jesus a glutton and a drunkard. You're just way too enthusiastic and way too accepting of people. Among the many other layers of this parable, and that is the gift of a parable, it's many, many layers, is this call to be prodigal, like a wild thing, like a dandelion, like a weed, to send out seeds of faith, hope, and love far out into the world with what may seem like wasteful extravagance, letting them land where they will and letting God take care of the wind and the soil. For God, in the love of Jesus, has given us an infinite source from which to replenish these seeds of patience, kindness, caring, insight, generosity, joy, creativity, seeds that will take root in unexpected and expected places. So imagine that dandelion and remember your delight as a child. Take in the deep breath of the Spirit and let those seeds fly with abandon and let God do the rest. Amen.